Are the lessons we absorb from the past, are they our gateway to better understanding ourselves and those around us? Today, we'll be turning inward for our discussion on absorbing our former self as we pick the brilliant minds of today's guests, Rochester, New York singer-songwriter Seth Faergolzia and Dave Johnson of Rochester, New York's Arc of Wayne Foundation. My name is Amanda Ashley, and this is Afternoon Cocktail, episode 90, Self-Absorb. Welcome. And welcoming Seth Faergolzia. Seth, how are you?
Doing good. How are you? Nice to
I
meet
am
you.
awesome. Yeah, pleasure to meet you. I feel like I've been researching you so much the past few days. I feel like I already know you, but I don't. It's awesome. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Happy to
So
be
what are you
here.
going to perform for us?
Well, I just keeping it simple with my classical guitar here. I'm gonna play. The first song is called. What is it called? "Carry Me Home." "Carry Me Home."
I love it. Take it away.
Hey, now, baby, won't you carry me home? I'm carrying my own religion. When my heart's as sure as I can make it to be, then won't you play and dance and run around with me? I'm forcing on my terrible sides to go away, and I can't remember who or why, but I'm holding on to what I had inside. Oh, the world, it took me for a ride, took me for a ride. I'm hanging up my hat, believe I'm done participating in that. I'm only here for a tiny bit of time, and I don't want to waste it, so I'm hanging up my hat, raising up my arms. I'm praising the sky and all the people below the sun. I'm raising my voice to try and talk some sense to you. I'm raising up my arms. I mean it. I want you to come, shouting, hey, let's get off this train and run and play until the sun it goes down.
Yay, Seth. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, could you tell us a little bit about that song? Is that one of your newer
Um,
releases or
yeah, yeah. I think I wrote it early summer,
yeah?
2020. Got a whole clutch of new songs. Basically, on classical guitar, I'm working on quieter. I guess because I'm not doing band shows and stuff like that.
Interesting. I mean, you have such a range. I mean, your voice has so many different elements to it. I have so many questions for you, so I'm just gonna get into it, I suppose. So you're originally not from Rochester. You're from downstate in New York City?
Well, no, I have lived in New York City, but
Okay.
I was born in Utica. We moved to Syracuse when I was a kid, and then I moved. I went to Purchase College, and then moved into New York City from there. Lived in New York for a while, then up to Ithaca, and then I ended up here.
Awesome. So how long have you been in Rochester?
Uh, I think 12 years now.
Same, yeah, I've been here about that same amount of time as well. Your energy is captivating. I mean, you radiate such a creative, authentic energy in literally everything you do. So 2 years ago, I actually caught your band, Multibird, at on New Year's Eve at
Oh,
Skylark Lounge.
uh-huh.
And I didn't know anything about you or the band. I actually, Beau and I, who runs the other end of the show that you met, we actually played a gig at Pane Vino in the city. And my friend, shout out to Brian McCormick, who's in a band called Treasure Plate. He shares your keyboardist, Luke.
Yep,
And
yep.
we all like went out to just have a drink. It was earlier in the evening. We were done by like maybe 10 o'clock. And I'm listening to you guys and grooving. I'm like, these guys are freaking awesome. So much energy, so much fun. I loved your whole like pickle. What was it? You gave out
Oh,
pickles.
pickles. Yeah, that's Emily's song.
It's
Oh yeah,
really,
we gave
really
out
fun.
pickles too. I forgot about that.
I
So
remember
that
that
was
was actually my selling point. I was like, okay, now I'm totally sold. This guy's giving out pickles. This is great.
Yeah, that
But
was the start of our tour, our 2020 tour, and we luckily got it in right before COVID hit.
yeah, honestly, that was probably one of the last live performances I got to see, sadly. But it was incredible, and I'm so happy that I had that opportunity. You guys have done quite a bit of touring. What did you have in store for 2020 that kind of got chopped?
We had a couple tours, let's see. Well, we luckily got our album release European tour thing in before this all started. Like I sometimes I'll book a winter tour just because I don't like being cooped up for the winter, so getting out on the road is kind of cool, even though the risk of snow and all that. So we had finished our January, February 5 week European jaunt, and then on that tour, we were invited to come back and play some summer festivals and even a spring festival. So I had planned on doing two more tours in Europe that obviously didn't get to happen, and um, we we worked for 4 years to release an album, and we're planning on just going out on the road as much as possible, and obviously life did
Yeah,
not allow.
I mean, obviously, all musicians have, and the entertainment business has suffered throughout all of this. But you've still managed to creatively keep yourself motivated, it seems. I love your art too. You're quite the artist. I mean, you can see your art behind you. Where are you right now? You're in a studio, your own studio, right?
I have a like an attic studio space in my home, and it
Awesome.
wasn't painted up like this before. You want to take a little spin around the room?
Sure.
I'll just show you. I started doing this thing like I've done this
That's cool.
loop, like what I call loop painting. So I'll create vocal loops while painting at the same time, and I would do that, and then I'd have paint left over. So all the paint that got left over after making a painting would go up on these walls, and it's been nice. I spend so much time up here. It's good to personalize it and feel more. I feel more at home and comfortable
Well,
in the
well,
space.
definitely to have a creative space like that to thrive in is important as an artist, an all-round artist. You also do quite a bit of video work. Could you tell us about that?
Well, I make music videos for my projects. The big thing that I'm working on now, it's I guess my COVID project. I'm sure a lot of people have things that they've been meaning to do for years, or things that they've been working on. One thing that's been on the back burner for me is this film. It's called Moon Shaped Head. It's about this. The main character is a woman with a crescent moon shaped head, and It's a lot based on dreams and things like that. But it's a 16-year project so far.
Wow.
And I luckily got awarded a grant right before all this stuff happened from the Genesee Valley Council on the Arts. I don't know if you know that, but Genesee Valley Council on the Arts awarded me a grant, and I was able to pay musicians to work from their home studios. And they sent me their files, and I've been editing all the files and then sending them off to different engineers to do mixing. It's like 25 people have all put in for this project, and it's an hour and a half long piece of music, and then the film is going to be placed on top of the music. So it's a music based film with puppets.
I saw that you were creating stuff with puppets. That's so yeah, you blow my mind. Your music videos, I mean everything that you do, I just the video I posted the other day, like under our afternoon cocktail talk show group, you know, even during quarantine, you guys, your band, everybody in your band is you have really excellent players behind you. I mean, you're so gifted on your own, but I mean, Luke, Emily, I mean, I know both of them personally, and I know like just outstanding musicianship all around. And you all have such creative brains, and it really shows in that video. And I just loved it. It's
Yeah.
simple,
Oh,
you
which
know, but
was it? The
the
oh,
one
okay.
take where
Yep.
you guys are going around, it's
Uh,
so much fun to
it was
watch.
really fun to
And
make.
yeah, how
Yeah.
long, I mean, how much practicing did you all do for something like that? Or is it
Uh,
just,
I think start to finish, it took 5 hours. I mean,
yeah,
we knew everyone knew the song before we did it, but then I sort of made this like plot, like, okay, at this point we're all gonna play the acoustic instruments, and at this point, I don't know. I think we planned it all out together. Actually, I think we got together, ate some dinner, planned what we would do, and then just started doing it over and over again until we got it.
it's so fun. I love it. It was really, really fun and enjoyable to
Yeah,
watch.
I really love one take videos. It's like an art unto itself. It's really a fun medium. There's another
So
we have
did,
another one take up there too. I don't know if you saw that one.
I don't know. No, I don't think I have. That one
Got the black
definitely,
curtain and people are coming out of the black curtain. And
no, I didn't see that one. I'll have to check that out.
I'll check.
That's good.
I'll send you
So
one.
like when you say one take though, like where the camera, I mean, is there one, who's running the camera?
My partner Laura was running the camera for that. The other one
Okay.
take, we just had the camera set in one position and everyone moved in and out of the screen and off the screen and on the screen. This one, she was, part of the dance, so to speak.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I figured somebody had to be like manning that, you know, behind aside
Yeah.
from you guys.
Yeah.
Cool. So you said you studied at SUNY Purchase. Did you, I mean, all this video work and your art, is that just something that came secondary and you studied music there, or were you kind of dabbling in all of the arts there?
I was in a program called Studio Comp, which was studio composition, where you learned composition techniques and recording techniques. But that school during that period of time was kind of like a renaissance moment. Um, all, at least in my circle of friends, people were all collaborating, working together. Like I was part of a weekly improv group, which was music and dance, and the musicians would play maybe to start, but then a dancer might be like, "Hey, can I play that instrument?" And then the musician would go out and dance, and it was all like contact dance and such a beautiful, like everybody was collaborating together. And then there's also a big art program there, and there was a big film program there. So I got a lot of like influence, and I think that kind of brought me to a multimedia state of mind.
Hmm.
Maybe. And I didn't get to really get into that until I guess got a little bit higher up financially, being able to afford to buy video equipment or to afford to buy a computer that I could edit the video on. So I guess I really started making video when I moved to Rochester, and got a little more settled. When I was in New York City, I was broke and like living in a squat, and had very little money, and just kind of like living this kind of free wild life. But I did still make a lot. I made a lot of visual art there, but it was mostly junk art. Just
Mhm.
finding things in the garbage and making art with that.
So let's talk about your time in New York City. I mean, so you had a band called Doofus,
Mhm.
and you guys were very successful. Like almost as was it you called it like freak folk, or that was that a label that
The label,
you
yeah.
kind of fell under?
I was
Yeah.
I was part of a scene in New York that was called anti-folk as well, which like Regina Spektor, Moldy Peaches. I don't know if you know those guys,
Yeah.
but they were part of that scene, and Jeffrey Lewis, all friends of mine, Diane Cluck. These people are all people who are still active as musicians now. Um, but we had this. I would go to this open mic, the Sidewalk Cafe, and it was just a, a booming open mic, like always packed with people, and it was like hard to get a spot. It was all like I think lottery sort of. They just had like the numbers on pieces of paper. You stand in line, and they give you your number, and you might get the third spot, or you might get the 60th spot for the night, and play at like 3 in the morning. But it was like this really cool, supportive community, and so I met a bunch of musician friends there, and I was coming out of Purchase, so I had a kind of crew that I worked with, um, that all moved down to the city from there, and um, yeah, I don't know. I feel really lucky to have just been in the right place at the right time.
How do you feel like your music has evolved since your days working with Doofus? I mean, the music's different than much different. I mean, there's some similarities, but I feel like you've taken more of Multibird has a lot of different elements to it. Like there's still like a touch of folk, but then I hear like even like a touch of old country to it with the banjo and I don't know. There's so many different elements, but your voice. There's another song that's more of a ballad. It's the title's slipping my mind, but your voice reminds me of Meatloaf. Like it's like you're all across the board, and all of it's just so interesting and fun, and yeah, it's really fun to listen to. How would you compare those two times in your life, your time in New York City to where you are now and how you've evolved personally and musically?
Um, short answer, I would say back then I was sort of like, look at me, and nowadays I'm sort of like, look at me if you want to. I'm gonna make this no matter what. I feel very comfortable with who I am, and I don't feel the need to get attention. I don't feel like I have to shout at people to tell them what I want to say. I think I was a lot more shouty, and like I had things I wanted to say. I felt like I knew what needed to be done to save the world, and now I'm sort of like, oh, the world is what it is, and I'm just a tiny piece in it, and I'm kind of okay with that, and I want to just make beautiful art, and for myself, and if other people like it, then that's great.
Sure. I think I did want to mention that I saw some of your videos from your past with Doofus. I think it was your final show with them. Was it a final show because you were moving, or people were just moving on with their
Uh,
lives?
yeah, it's actually so when I left New York, I kept it going because I was in Ithaca, 3.5, 4 hour drive, so I was able to go back and forth and keep things going. But when I moved to Rochester, it got harder and harder
Yeah.
to really, I'd be working on new songs, play them 100 times, then go down to New York and we'd rehearse for 2 hours and play a show. And it just, I didn't feel like the music was getting represented properly. And I felt like I needed to localize my my band project. So and I also, the film that I mentioned earlier,
Mhm.
I started working. I wanted to finish that, and that's just been like such a long term project. Is that I think when I ended Doofus, and I think it was 2010, I had just started a band here that was called 23 Sages, which is the original name for that project. And 23 Sages was a local project, big. I think our biggest band was 17 people. So it was kind of like a mob sort of band. And I just felt like I needed to localize, and I was kind of like being pulled apart by trying to hold on to New York City as my home
Yeah.
and live here. So I just decided to be more present and work here, and all on good terms with everyone in the band and everything.
Were you guys touring like how you are with Multibird? Like, were you across seas then as you are now?
Yeah, yeah, that kind of started. Well, I mean, I did my first tour in 2001, I think, and then Doofus did their first tour in '02, and it was not as professionally put together or concise, but we started touring almost 20 years ago, I guess.
Wow.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, and then the band toured a bunch. That was good. We'd get tight and sound really good on tour. But yeah, it was just too much to hold it together.
Yeah.
But we did a great send off. It was a 30-person band for two full hour and a half long sets, or even more. And we even the fire alarm went off in the middle of it, and we went out, played on the street. I have a song called Fire.
I saw
Or just
that.
fireman. I was the fireman. That's like the chorus of it. And we played that out on the street as the fire department pulled up and went into. You can actually find video of that on YouTube too.
I saw the article regarding that. I read it. Thought that was awesome.
What did you?
Wasn't Regina Spektor, was she at that too? Didn't she like come and sing a song, or you had a few
Yeah,
people featured, right?
yeah. She played one of my, or she sang on "Fun Wearing Underwear," which is one of my early hits.
That is that a multi-bird song too?
We play it.
Or
Yeah, we
yeah,
still play it. It's a catchy one. It's actually the main theme for a musical that I wrote.
okay.
Um,
I love that.
yeah.
It's really funny. I love all the voices in it. It's just I was like listening, I was at the gym and I'm listening to your music and I literally nobody could see but because I have a mask on, but like I just was laughing. It like some of your songs just like really I just probably it's a good thing nobody could see me because I probably look like an idiot like right like this, you know. Just smiling. But yeah, definitely your music brings a smile to my face for sure. Um Regina Spektor is incredible. I'm actually a really big fan of hers. I got to see her at Central Park perform probably 3 summers ago. That's crazy. Yeah, it's probably been about 3 summers. And she was great. So good. She had a cello player with her. And yeah, she was really just authentic, you know, very much herself and gave an outstanding performance. It was really one of the best shows I've seen, actually.
Yeah,
Um,
I guess we've been friends for over 20 years too.
that's so
We met,
cool.
we met at Purchase when I was finishing up, I think. So yeah,
That's very cool.
she's she's like, as far as friends I've known who've become successful, she is the one who has maintained her original personality the most, I think. She's just like she's always been who she is, and who she is on stage is very much who she is in person.
I that's what I gathered from her performance, and I think that's what made me love it so much. You know, like you could tell when people are fronting, and she just was really very genuine with how she interacted with the crowd, and I love that. I love that like when you see artists that are to that level, that are at that level, how they even with, you know, a place as big as Central Park, that they can make you feel like they're talking to you, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I saw her in Canada a few years back ago, like up in Toronto, and I was just amazed at how the audience would just like sit there. Like she
Mhm.
would play her song, they would all cheer, obviously, but she would like kind of talk to everyone. Everyone would just kind of like sit silently. Maybe someone would shout one thing and everyone would laugh or something, but it was just crazy how quiet the audience was. I
Yeah.
I'm so jealous of that. The audiences I play for are really talky and loud. I
Yeah,
would
me too.
be able to just play quiet songs, you know.
Yeah, that it does seem like a dream to have that, for sure. But yeah,
People
her
usually don't.
music's very intimate though, and I think anybody that really tunes into her and her voice, like they seek that intimacy and even in a concert setting, a big setting.
Hmm.
How has your experiences abroad shaped your writing and perspective?
Um, hmm, I would say, well, actually after pretty much every tour, I end up spitting out a bunch of songs. Um, I don't know if that's because it's abroad or if it's, I mostly do my touring abroad. But I think actually local tours happen as well. I think, being around people all day, every day, we'll end up, sometimes they'll get a hotel room for us or something, but we often are ending up staying with the promoter or whatever. And so, we finish our show, we go in, we hang out with the promoter after, we wake up, we have breakfast with them, and then we'll be on the road and we're all together. Oftentimes I'm traveling by train too, so I'm just around people for 5 weeks straight, and that makes me really comfortable around people. Like I don't stress as much about having a conversation, or I'm actually kind of an antisocial person. I I hang out in this studio all day, especially during COVID. It's kind of like I don't know about you, but I know a lot of artists can be kind of antisocial and they like to just, go into their head and work on their art. And so for me, the COVID thing has been, at first it was really nice because I liked just hiding away in my space here and not talking to anybody. But tour helps me to open up, and feel more comfortable talking with people, and I think it really just, songs just pop out of me when I come off of the tour, and there's no thought to it at all. They just come out. And what was the original question? I'm sorry.
Oh, just how I think you've answered it. I mean, just
Okay.
how being on the road or your travels abroad have shaped your writing perspective and perspective in general in life.
I
I
think,
always feel that like traveling has given me so much. Like I feel very inspired by traveling, by
mhm,
meeting new people. I think most musicians get that. Whether it's and feeding off of your crowd too. I'm sure
yeah,
inspires you to write more and to
yeah,
explore a little bit more.
yeah.
It's
Just
interesting to
travel
me
alone.
that I'm sorry, say that again.
Oh, I was just gonna say, just the travel alone. I don't think you even need to be doing a tour. It's just getting out of your daily sameness and the habits you form when you're in your home.
Definitely.
Experiencing new things. That's inspiring for me. I used to try to move every 6 months. I tried to live in different cities and different places in my youth, and every time I moved to a new place, I'd get a whole slew of new songs, and um, so I don't know. Yeah.
So aside from being a monster musician, you're also a father. I mean, how has you said you have a 4-year-old?
I have a 4-year-old and a 13-year-old.
Oh wow, okay. So I actually remember at that New Year's Eve show, your son was
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah. He was there.
Yeah, I
We got
remember I remember that specifically because my parents had taken I have a 4-year-old as well, and my parents had taken my son that night, and Beau and I were just like looking at your son and watching you, and it just kind of it I felt it in my heart, because I'm like, oh, that's like so awesome. It made me like kind of wish that we were with our son, that
uh,
New Year's Eve.
yeah,
But it was awesome. It was one of my actually favorite New Year's Eves, and it was because of you and your band. And yeah, it was really, really cool. But to share your music with your son like that, and to see everybody dancing around and for his dad to be, rocking out on stage like that. I mean, what's it like it's one thing to look into a crowd of people, but what's it like as a father to look out into the crowd and see your son growing up looking at you?
Oh, I don't know. It just gives me a smile. I don't, I want him to be whoever he wants to be. I'm not the kind of parent who pushes their children to, follow a specific path or be like me, or I don't know. I wouldn't actually wish this life on anyone. I mean, I feel really lucky that I've managed to eke a living out, but it's not an easy job, as you probably know. I do love it. It does make me feel good when he wants to play music, and he does love playing music, and he's a wild. Actually, right before this whole thing, I was down with him. We were jamming out. He was just wailing on the drums. He's got a little,
Nice.
little kid drum set, and he loves experimenting with music. He plays his guitar. He has a guitar, and he plays it like this. Trying to get him to flip it back over, but no.
Hey, at least he's got it in his hands. My son, we have musical instruments everywhere. He's got his own drum kit. We got a guitar for him, and we have to bribe him. Like we have to trade off 10 minutes of video games for 10 minutes of, playing drums or
Yeah,
rocking out with his parents.
the screens.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's very, very into video games
Yeah.
already. It's crazy. It's crazy. His like little 4-year-old fingers like swiping away on a tablet. It's like, how do you even know how to do these things better than me? I've been playing video games like all my life. How do you do this and know more than me? So today's theme was inspired by your song "Rubbing It In." And I love that video. It's really, really fun. A very different song for you. Again, like you really crossed quite a few genres. Can you tell us a little bit about the song, what it means to you, and what inspired it?
Um, sure. Uh, let's see. For me, it's it's about. So I feel like if I look back on my life, I see many different eras. Uh, my early childhood, teenage, yeah, early 20s, late 20s. Um, so I'm 40. I'm turning 46 tomorrow, actually.
What? No way.
Yeah.
Happy birthday. You said that hat was a birthday gift, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's,
That's a good one. Nice. Very
anyway,
nice.
I feel like, all the different places I've lived, all the different experiences I've had have made multiple selves. And I feel like I've been reborn multiple times in this life. But those selves still remain. Even the baby inside is still there. And I try to keep the baby precious and not let it get, tainted by the world. And um, I feel like you can reach back and access those selves for the present and achieve a higher form of self by looking back at your previous mistakes or your previous achievements and repeating things that work well and not repeating things that didn't work well. Learning from your mistakes, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that really kind of captures today's theme. It's just moving forward. We all have things we could look back on in our lives that maybe we're not so proud of, right? Or you were mentioning like in New York City, you realize there's so many layers to who we are as human beings, and as you get older and as you continue to move through life, you realize like there's so many different versions of who we are and who we've yet to become, and we're just in the current stage of it now, but looking back on all our previous selves, like there's something really to take away from the good, the bad, the ugly, and that's what brings us to our present state of who we are. And I think if you are really unhappy with where you are in this current state, maybe to look towards the future and to take to acknowledge what changes need to be taken place, in order for your future to kind of pave its way forward and get you into a better place. Do you
Yeah,
agree?
I agree, definitely. Yeah, I feel like you definitely can rise above if you can access your past in
Yeah,
the right way. Yeah.
definitely. Seth, so you said you have a whole slew of new songs. What can we expect from you in 2021?
Well, let's see. I mean, like I said, working on that film. The I I don't know if you know what Patreon is,
Yeah.
but I have a Patreon page, and I've been releasing the film in little bits via Patreon, and I am working on, like I said, a slew of new songs. I'll be recording them up in here in this studio with classical guitar and voice, and probably still doing like remote recording with people. Uh, my hope is to access some of the excellent musicians in Rochester and put out a really nice album of quieter songs with all stringed instruments. I wanted it to be
Ooh.
strings only, sort of strings and voice. So not just like violins and stuff, but like um, I don't know if you know Aaron Lip, but he's a friend of mine, and I was gonna
Yeah.
came to play some banjo and other musicians that I know in town who are not able to really be gigging right now. I figured it might be nice to try to at least do some
Collaborating.
collaboration via the internet.
That's super exciting. I can't wait to hear what's next. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I hope
Um,
I can get something out this year. The film probably won't be done until next year or even the year after. But the audio is almost finished, and that's available to my patrons. I have a lot of qualms with Spotify and streaming services, just that there's not enough money coming into the musician. So I pretty much and Facebook and all the social medias, I'm kind of just burnt out on it all, and just mainly focusing on Patreon now.
it's a lot. Yeah.
Occasionally, I occasionally post something to Facebook, but I like swore off of it a few months back. I was doing daily live streams when the pandemic first hit, just to like kind of keep things moving and to keep active in the community. But I just grew tired of that. Didn't feel like anything to me.
Yeah.
Well, it felt like something actually. There were some really great moments, but I just felt like it was overtaking my life, and it must be so much work to keep this. I see you're on episode 90.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah,
but honestly, I mean, this was kind of my quarantine side hustle. I'm a professional musician outside of this too. And once our gigs got chopped, like I wanted to do something, but I wasn't inspired to really do live streams all the time.
yeah,
Like it just I wasn't feeling it.
yeah,
But I was feeling a lot of things and I wanted to connect with people. And that's really how this all came about. And I discovered something new about myself and
yeah.
strengthened a lot of areas in doing this. So it's been a blessing in disguise, but yeah, it's a lot of freaking work.
Yeah,
Not gonna lie.
yeah.
But well, Seth, I feel like I could talk to you all day. I've already probably overextended my time, but I thank you so much. Where can our audience be directed to your Patreon? How could they support you, and where could they find your
Um,
music?
yeah, it's patreon.com/Seth Faergolzia. I'm sure the spelling is in here somewhere, right?
Yeah,
So yeah, it's just my name after patreon.com/. And I have a website, fargolzia.com, and a Bandcamp for Multibird, and it has all of, I think, 26 albums, something like that. It's
amazing.
multibird.bandcamp.com.
Please make sure you guys go check him out. It's Multibird is an incredible band. We're lucky to have you here in Rochester as a part of our music scene. So
I feel
thank
lucky
you
to be
for
here.
thank you. Thank you
Pleasure.
for putting out great music and for being you. And we're going to hear one more song from Seth towards the end of our program. In the meantime, I would love to welcome my friend, Dave Johnson. He is representing the Arc of Wayne. Dave, how's it going?
I'm great, Amanda. How are you?
I'm awesome. Thanks for being so patient. The
Oh,
time
no, I enjoyed it.
flies.
I really enjoyed it.
I'm glad. Well, I have the pleasure of knowing you, but could you share with our audience a little bit about who you are, your background, and your journey that led you to your involvement with the Arc of Wayne Foundation?
Sure. I'm the director of the Arc of Wayne Foundation. Uh, People are probably more familiar with the Arc of Wayne. For many years, we were Wayne ARC. We're an agency that provides services for individuals with and without developmental disabilities. The agency's been around since 1964, and our foundation was formed back in 2013 as the fundraising arm for the agency. So what I do is I oversee the fundraising, marketing of the agency, and I also do a lot of grant writing. And the foundation exists solely to support the agency and the individuals we serve.
Amazing. Can you explain like the actual mission that the Arc of Wayne represents?
Sure. So in a nutshell, our mission is to assist individuals uh, find their place in their society, in their communities. Um, Again, when we were formed back in the 60s, our core services were just for individuals with developmental disabilities. We were formed as a parent organization by parents for their children that needed services. Over the years, we've evolved to include over 40 different programs, and we provide services now not just for individuals with developmental disabilities, but all kinds of different populations. We've done a lot of grants. We've expanded our services to include anybody that needs assistance, whether it's through our judicial services programs, our clinical services, just a whole array of services. But again, our core services are those that serve individuals with developmental disabilities.
Amazing. And I mean, Dave, I know this has been, I mean, it's been a hell of a year for us all. I mean, I know personally, because I've performed for the Arc of Wayne in the past, you guys heavily rely on your fundraisers and beautiful events that are
Well,
put
thank you.
together. Yeah, they are. They're always really fun to attend, and it's always for a beautiful cause. So, I mean, how has this year changed all of that for you, and maybe even moving forward? You've obviously haven't been able to do a lot of in-person fundraisers. How did you get through this year?
Well, last year, our big fundraisers are we do an annual golf tournament, which is our biggest fundraiser. We do the Toasting Possibilities, which is a wine spirits tasting. We've been blessed to have you with us for that for the last few years. And then we do a walk, a color walk run, also that's in the fall. And and we're not alone, but we adapted. We adapted. We went virtual with those events, and we kind of learned on the fly. And Jessica Blondell, who oversees all our marketing and fundraising, she's awesome. She's done a fabulous job, and we were fortunate enough to still do quite a fair amount of fundraising through those events. And moving forward, what we did learn is that moving forward, we'll have hybrid events. You know, our wine
Mhm.
was virtual, so this year we're moving forward as though everything will be live, but we're going to have another hybrid event. We'll hopefully offer virtual tastings as part of our live event that people that might not be in the area can access. So yeah, it was a learning experience for all of us, and we came out of it pretty well. And a lot of agencies did. There's a lot of creativity, which again, that goes on Jess, because I'm not the creative part of our organization. But
Yeah, it's so interesting how everybody has adapted throughout this time, and because we had to, right? We had to think
sure,
quick and be on our feet. But in the end, like fast forward a year, like you're saying, these hybrid systems that could actually potentially, although it's maybe been a slower year, this past one, it really builds your future, the platform that it sets for the future. I mean, monetarily, I would think it would open up a lot of possibilities for you all. That's great.
Yeah,
Excellent.
absolutely, absolutely. Because virtual, you can reach. There are no boundaries to virtual. We're an organization that was formed in Wayne County, which is rural, so we're limited to what we can do and where we can promote events. We've expanded. We do offer services, I think, up to 8 different counties through our clinical services and judicial services. Um, but yeah, we can, when it comes to our wine event, we might have family. I have a brother in Arizona. We have family and friends in Maine, and all of those can participate. So you expand your footprint, and could be a good thing, a silver lining from one hell of a year.
Yeah, for sure. What difficulties or challenges do families face when seeking support for their loved ones with disabilities?
Um, Again, being out in Wayne County, we're more rural. So a lot of the services, no matter what they are, whether they're in our field or other fields, transportation's a huge barrier to any services.
Mm.
We have a lot of our services focus on employment and finding folks employment out in the community. It's one thing to find a job in a rural community. It's a completely different task to find them transportation. So that's one of those things. Um, and also healthcare for individuals with developmental disability. Again, limited options in rural communities. So that's always a struggle.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good point. I used to live out in Wayne County. I felt like I was a world away from a lot of the places I had to get to. So yeah, that transportation. So do you guys actually like provide like a bus to
We
transport
do.
people?
We have a fleet because we have a work center. We have, I don't know how many different residences, but we have a presence throughout the county. So we have a fleet. I should know the number, but I would say in excess of 90 different vehicles, ranging from sedans to minivans to big full-size buses. And we do provide transportation to a majority of our services. We do loop runs throughout the county and get them to our agency.
Wow, that's awesome. Very cool. What is one stigma regarding individuals with disabilities that you'd like to squash?
There's a lot. I would say
I
that
bet.
number one would be that not everybody with a disability is the same. No one likes to be painted with one broad stroke of a brush. The core of everything we do is based on individual. What does the individual want? What are their strengths? What do they need assistance with? So I would say that one stigma is not everybody's alike. No two
Mhm.
people are alike.
Yeah, absolutely. What awareness are you most passionate about bringing to our community and beyond?
Maybe the answer is in your question. It's just awareness. Awareness.
Yeah.
Personally, our agency, our mission, what we do, I think that I don't know how many times I've heard of our agency referred to as a hidden gem of Wayne County. I grew up in Wayne County. I've either worked and or lived in Wayne County my entire life. And until I got out of college and was looking for a job, I had no idea that at that time the Wayne ARC even existed. So I like to create an awareness of the individuals that we serve, the mission, the fundraising. It's all, just create an awareness and let them know what our mission is. And that's what my job is now, and with the assistance, again, Jess Blondell, we're getting that word out there.
Dave, we talked a little bit about this before going live, but I think it's important to address live as well. Stigmatized language is something that, it comes up often.
Sure.
Nobody intends to be hurtful with the words they use. I mean, most people don't. But, in terms of, I mean, I've interviewed people that are from recovery, the words addict, disabled, or, like there's certain words that are preferred not to be used or that could be viewed as offensive. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more to educate our audience on how we could all use our words more appropriately?
Sure, sure. In our field, we call it person first language. So instead of saying a disabled individual, we say a person with a developmental disability because they're a person first. So you want to identify that person as a person, and you don't
Mm,
identify their disability because it's not a disability per se. They're an individual first. hence the term person first language. And that's important because you see the person before you see the disability. And it goes back to the whole idea of the stigma, no two people are alike. So see that person, see what their individual abilities are and not their disabilities.
I think it's also that labeling factor, right? That nobody wants to be labeled as being that they're just disabled or that they're just an addict, right? I'm a person first. There's a lot more layers to me as a human being than these things that are just, a part of my journey, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, I think we live in a labeling society. Everybody likes to slap a label on everyone.
Yeah, it's very true. Very true. Thanks for talking about that because I think it is like really important. I'm guilty of it too. I mean, in my questions that I send, this is why I send questions before too, because it's part of the educational process. I'm learning as I go. And I feel like because of people like you and the people that I've interviewed on the show, I'm becoming more aware of my language. And I hope to teach others, the same. How can we be more mindful in our response to a loved one experiencing the hardships that are presented with caring for a family member with special needs?
I think it goes back to the point about being an individual. See the individual, see strengths. And again, not just in our field, it's in society. Treat everyone with respect, treat everyone as an individual, and get to know a person, get to know what they like, what they don't like, what their strengths are. We like to focus on abilities, not disabilities.
Isn't it crazy how often we have to remind each other of just general rules of like being kind to one another?
It all boils, I always say it always boils down, what it boils down to me is the golden rule. Treat others as you want to be treated, and being kind doesn't cost anything. I got girls and I harp on them, you're not always going to necessarily be the smartest or the best athlete, but you can always be the kindest. And that goes across all fields, all races, genders, every population. Just be kind.
Sure does. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Dave, you have a huge heart. And what you do is incredible. What is the most powerful takeaway you've inherited in all of your experience?
Well, I think personal life, professional life, for me, it always boils down to relationships. It's all about people. It's not what you do, it's who you do it with. If I always said I'm not much of a traveler. I never go to see things. I go to see people. In my experiences, I tell stories. I love to tell stories, but it's always about who you're with. And the best part of my job is the relationships I've developed. I've been there a long time. And after my first couple weeks at the Ark, which was over 24 years ago, I would have bet you I wouldn't have been there 2 months. But it's after all these years, it's the relationships you form. It's the individuals you bond with. And again, not just in my field, across all facets of life. It's all about the relationships we build.
What's one thing that surprises you to have learned about yourself throughout all your experience?
I never failed to surprise myself. If you would have told me this is what I would have done, coming out of college a long time ago, I wouldn't have thought that would have been the case. We're always evolving. So I think that there's always untapped resources within us that we can build upon. Never stop evolving, never stop learning.
Amen to that. Dave, where can our audience donate to the Ark of Wayne, and where can they find out more about your services?
We have a great presence on social media. You just find us, the Ark Wayne or Ark Wayne. You can go to our website. March is Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. So again, Jess Blondell, another plug for Jess. She's putting together virtual tours. You can access from our social media or our website. You get a look inside the agency. I've always extended an open invitation to anybody that ever wants a tour of our facility. I love it because that's one of the stigmas. People have a stigma about what goes on in the walls of an agency such as ours. I've never given a tour and had people not be amazed when they end the tour. So they could reach out to me personally. I'd love to show you what we do firsthand. But for those that can't get out there, check us out on social media, our website, and Jess is putting together some great videos.
Do you have any upcoming events?
We're moving forward with our events as though they're going to be live. So our big golf tournament, our big event is our golf tournament in June. We do a color fun run that's right on the canal. That's in Labor Day weekend, I believe, early September. And then our Toasting Possibilities is in September, and we host that at Ontario Golf Club, which is a great event every year.
Yeah, they're really lovely people, and I always look forward to that every year. So I hope to see you live in person at least in September.
Yeah, cross our fingers.
I will. I'll cross my toes too. Dave, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to see your face. Send Tracy my love, and
I certainly will.
all of the Arc of Wayne my love as well.
No,
and make sure you guys at home go check them out, like them on Facebook, learn more about them, and make those donations if you can. Every little bit counts. Seth, would you like to close us out with one more of your jams?
Sure. Yeah.
What you got?
I wouldn't call it a jam, but this is one of the quieter songs I've been working on. It's actually already released, but I'm going to re-release it with more musicians. I've only released it solo, so it's called "He Once Was." Friend, get down. I have a tale, please. Just once will I ask you this favor. Many moons I've waved the lure of he that was my Savior. He once who was my Savior. Band of time with the thunderous storms, please don't leave me normal. Kick and punch and scrape my mind of him that was my Savior. He once who was my Savior. Ooh, then I fell ill. I tested you still. Ooh, I swallowed your pills. Ooh, then I lay still. Friend, get down. I am I've learned, baby's eyes. That's what I need. I'm far from blind, but it's so hard to see. I feel the tide moving and inside of me. Friend, get down. Please, just once will I ask you this favor. Have you found a single sound for he that was my Savior? He that was my Savior. He once who was.
Beautiful, Seth. Thank you so much for sharing your music with us today. And big thank you again to Dave Johnson of the Arc of Wayne Foundation. Today's theme was self-absorb. We talked about slapping around some titles, and self-absorbed is a title few would be honored to claim. However, if we take those two words and flip them around, the meaning begins to morph into something a little bit different. We have one life and three main layers of skin as humans, but our layers extend far beyond that. Day after day, our lives continue to unravel, exposing different sides to our character as we each are challenged through our personal evolution. Absorbing ourselves is simply the act of finding peace with our past selves and respecting the lessons it has taught us. What's cemented in our foundation are the hard lessons we've endured throughout our journey. Reflecting back on our previous life helps us to understand how we got to where we are today. We are the cause and effect of our own actions, the actions we took, the actions we failed to take, and the action we take in repairing what is necessary for us to move forward copacetically through life. To know better is to do better. We now see and know things about ourselves that we didn't before, and that is the one advantage that we have today over yesterday. We can't rewrite history, nor can we undo our mistakes, but we can always choose to do better and to be better for you and for the ones that you love. Because as I've mentioned so many times before, we best take care of others when we first take care of ourselves. Absorbing our past selves is to acknowledge your rights, your wrongs, and to look at all the life that's still ahead and to make those necessary adjustments so that your future self can thrive. Check in with yourself to reevaluate and to reestablish your values. Reflect on your experiences and what they have taught you. Be mindful of what areas of your life require more attention and make sure that you are benefiting from those things that demand the most from you. The fruits of today are a nourishment for the future. It is up to you to pave the way. Learn, grow, shed your skin, grow thicker skin, and keep pushing forward to become the very best version of you. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed today's program. Huge thank you to Beau Productions and shouty to our Patreon sponsors, James Farley of Northwestern Mutual and Dominion Voyage Studios here in Fairport, New York. Also, huge thank you to our show sponsors, Rochester Woman Online, Bridget Hogue at Empire Realty, and Chris Siriani at IT Insights of Rochester. We will be back here with a brand new show this Friday. Be sure to tune in at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we will check back with you then. Have a beautiful hump day. Bye, guys.